It's funny. Have you ever really thought about all the science that's hiding in plain sight? I mean, just in our everyday lives? Think about it. Making coffee, cleaning up, our whole world is about sorting and separating things. So today, that's what we're going to do. We're going to dive into some of the simple, but honestly brilliant ways we do it.
So, yeah. Ever wonder how the world gets sorted? We're going to look at these amazing scientific methods that we use all the time, probably without even giving it a second thought.
And to do that, we're going to follow two siblings, a brother and sister named Molly and Vali. They're on this awesome summer vacation across India. And along the way, they end up finding science in places they never, ever expected.
Okay, so their adventure kicks off at their grandma's house, their Nani's house in Haryana. And just look at this scene. Right there in the courtyard, their family is just patiently sifting through piles of grain, picking out little stones and bits of husk by hand. For Molly and Vali, this is like the first hint that something scientific is going on here. Naturally, they get curious. So their journey takes them from the quiet courtyard out into these huge open fields. And out there, that's where this whole separation thing happens on a way bigger scale. This is where the harvest magic really starts.
But hold on, first lunch. And this is a moment I think we can all relate to, right? Mally, he just does not like black peppers. So what's he doing? He's carefully picking every single one out of his palau. I'm sure his sister is giving him a hard time, but what he doesn't know is he's actually using a legit scientific technique. And that technique, it's called hand picking. Yep, that's simple. It's pretty much the most basic way to separate things. You just use your eyes to spot differences, size, color, shape, and pick them out. It's the exact same idea his family was using with the grain, just, on a dinner plate scale instead of a whole harvest. All right, back to the fields. Now Molly and Vali see the farmers using a method with a bit more muscle behind it. They're taking these big bundles of wheat stalks and just beating them against a wooden log. It's this really powerful rhythmic motion, and the whole point is to literally shape those precious grains loose. This process is called threshing, and it's been around forever because, well, it works. It's all about using force to break the grain away from the stalk. It seems simple, but think about it. This one action has a massive impact on our food. Okay, so the grain is free from the stalk, but you've still got another problem. It's all mixed in with this light, papery stuff called husk. So how do you get rid of that? Well, this is where it gets really clever. The farmers use this special bamboo tray. It's called a soup. They just toss the whole mixture up in the air and let nature take over. And this super smart technique, it's called winnowing. It's so simple, it's genius. The wind just carries away the lightweight husk, but the heavier grains, they fall straight back down into a neat pile. I mean, it's a perfect example of working with nature, not against it. Okay, let's switch gears. We're leaving the farm and heading back inside the house. And we're going into a place that is, secretly, one of the best laboratories on the planet. The kitchen. So, the family is getting ready for the next leg of their trip, and Vali is helping her mommy make some snacks for the journey. Now, to get the flour just right, they've got to separate the fine powder from the coarser bits, the bran. And to do that, you need a very specific tool. You know this one. It's called sieving. You just pass the flour through a sieve, right? A mesh? The tiny, fine particles slip right through, but the bigger pieces of bran get caught. It's a method that's all about one thing: separating stuff based on size. So far, we've been separating solids from other solids. Easy enough. But what if a solid is completely dissolved in a liquid? Like, how in the world do you get salt from the ocean? Well, on their next stop in Ahmedabad, the kids find out exactly how it's done, and on a huge scale. Look at this. Seawater is gathered in these massive, shallow pits. And then they just wait. They let the sun do all the heavy lifting. The heat makes the water vanish into the air, and what's left behind? A crust of pure salt. And that process is called evaporation. It's just a liquid turning into its vapor or gas, and it turns out to be a super powerful way to pull a solid out of a liquid it's been dissolved in. Next up on their tour, Puducherry. And here, their grandfather, their Dada, shows them a daily ritual that, believe it or not, is basically a masterclass in separation science. We're talking about making a cup of tea. And it's not just one method, it's three. Okay, step one. After the tea has brewed, you just let it sit for a second. What happens? The heavier tea leaves, they can't dissolve, so they just sink and settle down at the bottom. That's called sedimentation. Step 2. From there, you gently, carefully pour the liquid tea out, trying to leave those settled leaves behind. That careful pour, that's decantation. And step 3, for that perfect leaf-free cup, there's one last move. You pour the tea through a strainer. It catches any little bits that escaped. And that final step, that's filtration. See? 3 steps for 1 cup of tea. All right, we're on the last part of their big summer trip now. And for this leg, Molly and Volley learn about 2 really clever tricks that work because of the special, unique properties of the materials themselves. Over in Bhopal, they're at a roadside eatery, and they see this painting of a woman churning curd, stirring it over and over again. And that constant motion, the churning, it forces the lighter butter to all clump together and separate out from the heavier liquid, the buttermilk. It's all about separating by density. And for the grand finale, in Shillong, they watch a carpenter who's got a bit of a problem. He's dropped a bunch of iron nails into a big pile of sawdust. Now, he could spend forever handpicking them out, or he could just run a magnet over the pile, and poof! The nails literally jump out of the sawdust to the magnet. That is magnetic separation. It's like using a superpower, a fundamental force of nature, to clean up. So, after this whole trip, what's the big lesson? For Molly and Volley, and for us too. I think it's that all these things that sound like complicated science principles, they're really just simple, super practical tools that we use all the time. I mean, think about it. They saw science in picking peppers out of rice, hand-picking. They saw it in the hard work on the farm, threshing and winnowing. They saw it in the kitchen, sieving and filtration. And they saw those really clever tricks, like evaporation, churning, and magnetic separation. They really saw the whole shebang. What their journey really proves is that science isn't some far-off thing that only happens in a lab. It's right here. It's in our kitchens, it's out in the fields, it's in all of our daily habits. So the real question, the takeaway for you, is this. Now that you know what to look for, what kind of hidden science are you going to spot today?